So I'm in a debate with a friend of mine named Rhys. And it's turning personal. I must tell you that's on his side. I've even responded, what are you doing? This isn't between us. I had brought to him in a text message, and Rhys and I used to live together back in our bachelor days. Huge NASCAR guy. Loves it. It was his dream. He did that stuff as a kid. Of course, not with NASCAR. They have go-karts and different things that you can race, and you try to make it up and go through the ranks. Loves it. And believes it's real. And that's always a tough one where I want to love. I don't want to be the one that ruins the holiday cheer for anybody. If there's anything that you can have an excitement for, I don't want to come in and set you straight. I don't want to do that, but if you're trying to have a meaningful conversation with me and you're asking me, is NASCAR a competitive event or is it scripted exactly like pro wrestling? Of course the answer is there. But he doesn't want to hear this, right? All right, fair enough. I don't want to take this from him. But I have been going through, on more of a deeper note, I've been going through my own journey for a number of years about fake news. And I could start you at the very beginning. I'd never heard the term before until a campaign in 2016. I frankly did not believe it at all. I thought it was a little bit of a catch slogan. It started to catch on. I couldn't figure out why. If Anderson Cooper tells me it, he would have vetted it. I believe that. My favorite reporter, a guy named Shepard Smith. If Shepard Smith tells me I'm going to believe, if my teacher told me back in freshman year biology class, I'm going to believe it's true. I suppose you would call me naive, but I did not believe in fake news. And I went to a sporting event, live. I was there in person. It was called Mayweather versus McGregor. The reports that night were of this sold-out Grand Slam box office event. They were that night. I was dumbfounded. We were in the arena. It wasn't full. I bought my mother's ticket that day. And she didn't have a good seat. She was about 10 rows from the top, but there was nobody behind her. There was thousands of empty seats. And it was that night. Not a year went by. Not my grandson was telling the story 80 years from now. The sports community that night. From the arena. They were broadcasting from the arena. That they all saw wasn't full. It's the first time ever I go, my God, this maybe fake news is, I can't believe, I'm stunned. And it was within 2 weeks. It was within 2 weeks of that fight that history had been rewritten. It was a real battle from Jump Street, but they had succeeded within 14 days. That Conor McGregor got destroyed. It wasn't a contest. It was silly. It was a spectacle. Perhaps it shouldn't even go on Floyd's record. Floyd Mayweather got his ass kicked for 30 minutes. Floyd kicked Conor's ass right back. I'm well aware of what happened. It was an extremely competitive and it was a great match. But watching it be retold in real time when I was there live, it affected me. I mean, I'm going back a period of time, but all of a sudden I am skeptical on everything I hear. And I was quick to do what you're probably doing now, which is, hey, Chael, sport. Who cares? This doesn't matter, boxing. I don't disagree with you. But people, when I watch the news, are reporting live regardless of the topic. This was done live from the arena, of which was not full, and told the world that it was completely sold out. That had a government agency known as the Commission, who, by the way, doesn't have to tell the truth. They just have to disclose and make sure they get their 6%, but they co-signed the statement. And it just simply wasn't. Just simply was not. All right, so you fast forward a whole bunch of years, you bring me to last week. Last Saturday, and you can go ahead and Google this, right here in West Linn, Oregon, all emergency personnel were on hand. They went 7 miles behind where I'm sitting right now, and I mean everything. And you can't go, this was statewide news. The Tualatin Valley Fire Department, with every free hand in the trucks and the ladders, the ambulances, the paramedics, and then there's something called like a search and something else team that they'll like rappel down ropes and go down cliffs. I'm sure it's a really excellent group, but they all descended to save a young man who was distressed. When they got there, that young man, who happens to be my nephew McLean, was 100% fine on the side, holding his kayak in waters that he went to every single weekend for the last 3 years. So when they come rolling down the rocks and they're there to save him, he looks, talking to me? They said, yeah, we're here for you. He was fine. He had never called. He was never in danger. It was the great lone proportion that I could personally witness. And I was surprised. And nobody's at fault. Somebody got a call. Everybody went into action and boom, they got there. I'm just sharing for you. It was not the story that was put out. He was never in danger. He was never rescued. He was standing on the embankment, of which he was terribly familiar, with his kayak in hand. That's just what happened. All right, I tie all of this in for you. Go to my buddy Rhys. Give you that whole backstory, but I go to my buddy Rhys. Now, I'm going to say words for you that you have never heard in your life. You have never said these words, and you have never heard anybody else say these words. Here are my words. My favorite scientist is. I guarantee you, you don't have a favorite scientist, and I guarantee you, you've never met anybody that's ever said they do. I do. My favorite scientist is a genius named Jacques Vallée. And Jacques Vallée testified in front of 2 different Senates, one Republican, one Democrat. So it's not a political statement at all, and in front of the United States Congress. It had to do with the phenomenon of alien encounter, which if you got right now, you go, Chael, what are you to talk about aliens, you weirdo? But if you lived through the 80s, it was extremely real. The people that were running for the presidency of the United States were promising on the stump, I will reveal to the American people the truth. It was a huge, huge deal. It was on every magazine. It was on every tabloid. They were making newspapers about it. You got these farmers that are getting picked up and they're being abducted. I mean, this was a phenomenon like you would not believe. You have colonels in the United States military. You have members of the CIA who on their deathbed make a statement for the first time ever, confirming it was a real thing. So Jacques Vallée goes in, he weighs in on it. One of the beliefs amongst the people that believe that the aliens were here is that there's a place called Area 52. And Area 52 is where the United States government has taken and captured the aliens, and we have an underground bunker the size of Manhattan that has been confirmed by people who worked at the Pentagon. That has been confirmed by people who work at the White House. All right. The Pentagon has 5,500 seats, by the way. You don't think a crazy person can get one of them? Well, okay, everybody worked at the Pentagon, right? You hear things like this. It's stupid statements that's supposed to add validity to the statement. Jacques Vallée goes before the Congress, which is not sure. They believe the Central Intelligence Agency and they believe the President of the United States are keeping information from them. Jacques Vallée goes before them. He studied this his entire life. And he simply says to allegedly the smartest minds in our country, if there is a city the size of Manhattan, who takes out the garbage? And he ended the ridiculousness and he ended the speculation with that simple statement. If there is a city the size of Manhattan, it's going to produce a lot of garbage, just like Manhattan. So who takes it out? Whose job is that? Who collects the paycheck? Who goes underground? Who drives the trucks? Where do the trucks come out? What do they do with the garbage? He dispelled absolutely everything that they believed. There was underground bunkers and there was, and we're doing testing. Everything got dispelled when this guy said, who takes out the garbage? Now, I bring that with you because I've taken that analogy with me in life. And many things where I think I've uncovered something, you can't identify it and it goes in 20 different directions. And if you break it all down to who takes out the garbage, you can't answer that question. You pretty much know that you've now got a conspiracy. Great. My friend Rhys, when we lived together as bachelors, loved to tell me that the Indianapolis 500 seats 500,000 people. I don't know a goddamn thing about car racing. I know that there is no city council or state budget control or architect or team of construction workers that anywhere in the United States of America have put in anything that has 500,000 seats. As a matter of fact, I know that the University of Michigan is the largest stadium in the United States for college basketball at 100,000. It is circular and it is so tall that you can't see the game. You're just in there for the beer. No, when I watched the Indianapolis 500, it's one side. So the University of Michigan that had 360 degrees and went so damn high you can't see the game, got a fifth of what he's alleging for me one side has. That's tough for me. That's not factual. That's not accurate. I don't have proof and I don't have blueprints. I didn't send anybody there and I didn't count heads. That's pretty good evidence. And he told me that that is ridiculous. You were talking about a 360-degree field over 100 yards of manufactured turf versus a straight length, what we call theater seating, of a 2-mile track. Fair enough. I'm still going to wonder who takes out the garbage. If you have 500,000 people, now I don't know a lot about Indiana, but I do know they got a basketball team out there called the Hoosiers. And I do know that every time that the Hoosiers play, which is dozens of times every year for 4 decades successfully as a dynasty, it shuts the roads down in that area. That area that's completely prepared for it shuts the roads down. I know that when I watch the national news, they talk about the price gouging at the restaurants because it's supply and demand. They break the price away because they don't have enough seats. Should I mention that it's 18,000 people that they bring in? 18,000 people within the same state that is ready, that has done it for 4 decades, shuts down the streets. There's not enough restaurants. There's not enough hotels. There's absolute complete congestion. Friend believes that that same state, with absolutely no experience, one time a year, so you really got very few opportunities to get this right, can bring in 500,000 people. Who would possibly take out that garbage? Who would possibly feed those people? And the only thing that I was attempting to tell my friend just had to do with tying in from my first experience with fake news, which was Mayweather McGregor, to my nephew, who was never in trouble and rescued a week ago in front of the world because they brought the news cameras. So I said to my friend, that's a very high number. How do you come to that? I don't have evidence that it's not, other than I don't think it is. But how do you have evidence that it, and how long is this race? Tells me it's 5 hours. All right. He then changes his number from 500,000 to 300,000. In case he sees this piece, wants to make sure I tell the story. He's got 300,000 people there. They're going to be there for 5 hours. Now, everybody's going to have 2 hot dogs. Can we all agree on that? And I don't care if they're actual hot dogs, but they're going to have substance that would be equal within a 5-hour period to 2 hot dogs, right? Well, that could be cotton candy, that could be liver. They're going to have something to eat. They're going to have 2 things over a 5-hour period. 300,000 people, you're talking about 600,000 hot dogs. All right. I told him, man, I can't believe that you believe this, and I can't believe that you would believe just because the media said it's true. Somebody sells these tickets. There's massive ticketing companies out there. Can you go online and buy seat number 100? Can you go online and buy seat number 300,000? The answer is no. And the answer is no because there's not 300,000 seats, but he says that there is. So, all right, Rhys. I can't prove it, but you can't prove it either. But let's just do this for fun now that we're in a really weird argument with each other. But you got 300,000 people that are all going to have 2 hot dogs. We got 600,000 hot dogs. Now, if you do a Google search, which is what he relied on anyway, the hot dogs at the NASCAR event are 4 ounces each. So we're going to times 600,000. We're going to do that by 4 ounces, and we're going to come to 2,400,000 ounces. Now, if you divide that by 16, you're looking at 150,000 pounds of hot dogs. I haven't got into the relish, boys. I haven't got into the ketchup and the mustard. I haven't got along with the soda that you're going to wash it down. I haven't got with the guy that's going to clean it up. I haven't got down to the napkins. I haven't got down to the cash registers and the drawers. I got 150,000 pounds of beef I got to get in on one day. I don't get to use last week's beef or yesterday's beef. I don't get to overstock it and run it next week. They use this track one day a year. Now, I got to tell you, I don't know trucks. I do not know commercial trucks. I know non-commercial trucks, and I happen to have the biggest one that Ford makes. It carries 2 tons. It carries 2 tons. So we got 150 pounds. If we are 150,000, if we're divide that by my truck, we're going to need 75 of my truck to bring in hot dogs for one day. Those hot dogs, if you would like to go and Google it and look online, happen to run you before tax So we're going to do $12 million in hot dog sales. Now, a lot of that could be put on debit. That could be what's called point of sale, but a lot of that's going to be cash. Do you know how many registers you would need? Do you know the Brinks trucks that you would have? Do you know the security that you would have to have just for the hot dogs? And by the way, you would have to have 500 people selling the hot dogs, not 500 employees. Not the guys cooking them, cleaning, not 500 guys at the counter saying, what can I get you today? Those 500 people over the course of 5 hours would have to do 2,000 transactions. So I'm going to have to say to you, what can I get you today? 2 all-beef patties, a Coke, and some licorice. You got it, my man. How's the race? Go ahead. That'll be $38. Oh, out of 50. Here's $12. Here's your number. Please slide down. They'll be right with you. How long did that take me? Is that about 15 seconds? So I could do 2 of them every 30 seconds. So in the course of an hour, I could do 120 of them. 120 orders I could take in. I have 5 hours to do 2,000, and there needs to be 500 of me. So if NASCAR would like to tell people, for reasons that I don't know, that they have an arena that sat 300,000 people to watch cars go around, and you feel comfortable accepting that, I'm going to ask you, who took out the garbage?